The Great Gatsby. You guys are in high school, so you've read the book recently. That book is written like fan fiction. That book is written like the tackiest fucking fan fiction ever. I understand that the book was written during like the era of literary descriptivism, but first of all, let me just say, Nick and Gatsby, yes, they fucked. Absolutely they fucked. Come on, old sport. Drop those trousers. Let's have ourselves a little game. The whole, oh, I gotta get Daisy over here. I want to be with Daisy. No, Nick, he wanted you, Nick. He wanted you. Why do you think he begged you to get in the pool so many times, Nick? He wanted to fuck. English teachers be like, oh, this is such nice literature. Bitch, this is fan fiction. Great Gatsby excerpts. At any rate, Miss Baker's lips fluttered. She nodded to me almost imperceptibly and then quickly tipped her head back again. The object she was balancing had obviously tottered a little and given her something of a fright. Again, a sort of apology arose to my lips. Almost any exhibition of complete self-sufficiency draws a stunned tribute from me. It's just not how we write anymore, and English teachers are like, this is what good writing looks like. No, this is what pretentious writing looks like, I feel like. Gatsby was written by a housewife. That's why it's how it is. What? Gatsby was written by a housewife? Gatsby was written by the author's wife, and he put her in a mental hospital and stole it. Really? Okay, if you're like in high school, I know I read that book my junior year of high school. If you're like a sophomore right now, next year when you go to write your report on the forbidden love between Nick and Gatsby. Because I guarantee your English would be like, oh my god. I knew it. And someone else thinks like I do. Everyone thinks that they're so secretive about like picking up on these little subtleties, but it's so obvious, bro. Well, I mean, literally in the movie, when Mr. McKee walks into the room, you can tell immediately he's a gay man. In the book and in the film that it's an orgy, but in order to keep it rated PG or PG-13, all they do is dance around and get champagne everywhere. You know what the champagne is symbolic of, chap? Do you know in cinema what shaking champagne and spraying it everywhere is symbolic of? Come! It's come! Personal traits, I guess.
31 where Nick and Mr. McKee are literally implied to have gay sex.
All right, let's see it. Go to page 30 and 31. He had on a dress suit and patent leather shoes, and I couldn't keep my eyes off him. But every time he looked at me, I had to pretend to be looking at the advertisement over his head. When we came into the station, he was next to me, and his white shirt front pressed against my arm. And so I told him I'd have to call a policeman, but he knew I'd lied. I was so excited that when I got into a taxi with him, I didn't hardly know I wasn't getting into a subway train. All I kept thinking about over and over was, you can't live forever. You can't live forever. Taking out my handkerchief, I wiped from his cheek the remains of Taking out my handkerchief, I wiped from his cheek the remains of the spot of dried lather that had worried me all afternoon. What? I was standing beside his bed, and he was sitting between the sheets, clad in his underwear, with a great portfolio in his hand. Beauty and the Beast, Loneliness, Old Grocery Horse, Brook and Bridge. Then I was lying half asleep in the cold lower level of the Pennsylvania station, staring at the Morning Tribune, and waiting for the 4 o'clock train. They had sex. Literally, chat, they're at an orgy. Daisy gets all fussy. Everyone's high off of opiates and champagne. Tom punches Miss Wilson, and then fucking Mr. McKee and Nick leave the room, down the elevator, back to Mr. McKee's place. And in between this period and this ellipses here, they had sex! Ellipses imply the passage of time when they're at the start of a sentence, or they imply hesitation when they're in dialogue. Sometimes they imply a break in speech. But here, at the opening of a paragraph, circumcluded by a space on either side, they imply the passage of time. They went from the elevator leaving the hotel room, or the apartment rather, where Tom and Mrs. Wilson were having their affair, to being in Mr. McKee's bed. I was standing beside his bed, and he was sitting up between the sheets, clad in his underwear. The only thing he had on his underwear with a great portfolio in his hands. Do you think the lever is an innuendo? Keep your hands off the lever, snapped the elevator boy. I beg your pardon, Mr. McKee said with dignity. I didn't know I was touching it. Oh, if you read it like that. Oh, I beg your pardon. I didn't know I was touching it. That is a sexual innuendo. The fucking lever, dude, come on. I would be an amazing English teacher, chat. I would present The Great Gatsby not as a fantastic piece of literature, but as a stolen piece of literature and a perfect example that you shouldn't send your wife to a mental home for writing a better book than you, because it may just turn out to be boy love fan fiction. The Great Gatsby is not a love story about a man and a woman who got away. It is a love story about a man and a man during the roaring 20s who simply could not be together. Okay? There's a lot of gay sex here and there.